Well, again, good morning, my friends. I'm glad to have you here. I'm Camille Pauley with Healing the Culture. Healing the Culture is a ministry in Rapid City, South Dakota. We are actually a national ministry. We are the pro-life organization of Father Robert Spitzer, whom you hear often on this radio station. And he created this organization with a goal in mind to educate people about the reasons behind why we're pro-life. Not just that we're pro-life, but why we're pro-life. Because a lot of people understand what it is that we believe, but they don't have any idea why. And so we share with individuals and churches and schools and parishes and parents and homeschool families all of the educational tools that they need in order to make sure that the people that they're working with are pro-life and understand why, and to equip them so that they can go out and evangelize the nation to be pro-life. So we're in every state in the country. We're in Canada and even in English-speaking countries like India and other parts of the world, in the United Kingdom. And we get our curriculum out mostly through digital media and print and mass media. So check out our website, healingtheculture.org. That's healingtheculture.org, and you can learn a lot more about us and what we do and the resources we have. Most of what we have is free. So you can get on that website, healingtheculture.org, and download a whole bunch of resources. But we thought at the top part of this show, what might be really fun is to entertain questions, to show you up front and personal, up close and personal, about what it is we do and how we do it. When we speak to people about pro-life, oftentimes pro-life people make the assumption that the person they're talking to is coming at the issue from the same perspective we are, at least understanding the terms we talk about the same way that we understand those terms, like freedom and happiness and rights, words like success, quality of life, the common good. All of these words are interpreted very differently by our opponents, and they are very good, very clever, and very successful at pushing their interpretation of these words on the culture. And so the fact is that most people in the culture have absorbed definitions of those words that are unhealthy, that are beneath us, and that do not really explore the depths of what it means to be a human person. So what we do is we change that. We kind of imbue the whole culture with new definitions of these words, definitions that are real and objective and have substance behind them, and have been the definitions for thousands of years until modern times. So I have brought someone into the studio to help me with sharing our content with you a little bit for this first brief segment of the show. Zachary Moore is here with me. Hi, Zachary.
Hi, Camille.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Good. I thought so because I can see you.
Yep.
Zachary Moore is our video production specialist. He helps me produce a lot of the videos that you will see when you go to our website, healingtheculture.org. He's amazing. Zachary studied film and videography and video production at the YMCA in Rapid City, which is a wonderful program. And he came to us fresh out of that experience and has been just a phenomenal resource to our organization. We're grateful to have you, Zachary. And what Zachary's going to do this morning is he's going to share with you questions that we've received from people about the abortion issue. Some of these questions are from pro-lifers, most are from pro-choice people, and it'll give you a really good idea of how we answer these questions by coming to by kind of first seeing the perspective of the person who's asking the question. So, Zachary, first, a little bit about you.
Okay.
Where are you from?
Rapid City, born and raised.
Born and raised in Rapid City. Awesome. Very good. And what makes you tick? What do you love?
I love movies, video games, books. I love anything entertaining everybody, right?
Yep. All the kinds of stuff that you've put together to use to make the job that you do so well.
Yep. I love doing it.
Awesome. And you have a family?
Yep.
Yep, here in Rapid City.
A mother and a sister, yep.
Awesome. Very good. And what do you like the most about working for Healing the Culture? Your boss. Right?
That I get to, that I get to make content that I really enjoy. Yeah. And I think has an impact on people.
Yeah, I love that answer.
And I love being able to do it right out of school. So
yeah,
it's great.
It's beautiful, and you're really good at what you do. Yeah,
I appreciate that.
I hope I tell you that every day.
You do.
Yeah, good. Awesome. Well, all right, so you have a list of questions that people have sent to us.
Yes.
And I'm going to leave you in charge of asking them. So what's the first one?
The embryo isn't a human being yet.
Okay. So this is usually the first argument that we get when we are speaking at a college or university or high school. The first point that people will make is this is a moot point because if the embryo isn't a human being, then abortion isn't murder. And if they are right about that, then they would be correct about the conclusion, which is there's no murder if it's not a human being. That would be true. However, there is significant evidence, biological evidence, that the unborn child or the preborn child is a full human being from the moment of fertilization, from the moment of sperm-egg fusion. So let's take a look at the evidence. The evidence on the other side that the unborn child is not a human being usually is what? That the unborn child doesn't look human.
Doesn't think, doesn't have a brain.
Doesn't have a brain yet. And so usually that's the first thing we do is we want to explore why is it that you think the unborn child isn't a human person, isn't a human being. And usually people will give those arguments. It's not sentient. It doesn't have any feelings or emotions. It doesn't have a brain. It has no brain waves. It can't think yet. It's not developed yet. It doesn't look like a person, like a human being ought to look. It has no arms and legs. And sometimes we'll even get comments like, or responses like, it doesn't have a social identity. It doesn't have a name. It doesn't even have a social security number yet, which is kind of a curious argument because a lot of cultures don't name their child until they're 1 year old so that they can get a sense of
It's got to be at least a couple of hours before you have any of those things.
Well,
when
that's
someone's
true
born.
too. That's true too. I did not have Juliet's name picked out until after she was born.
Exactly.
So was she not a human being because she didn't have a name, right? Is your human beingness, the reality of who you are, really dependent on somebody, declaring a name on you or the government giving you a social security number? You don't have a social security number right when you're born because the government doesn't even know you exist
slow.
yet. It takes a long time. Yes. So, and by the way, if you lose your social security card, are you no longer a human being? I've had that happen before.
That's a good question.
Yeah, it's a good question. So the first thing to do is sort of point out some of the errors or the arbitrariness or the subjectiveness of the comments, of the responses that people give to why the embryo is not a human being. And then to show the fact is that biology is on our side. And a lot of times pro-life people are afraid of responding to this question because they don't know the biology. There's not a whole lot you need to know to be able to answer this question well. From the moment of sperm-egg fusion, science has proven that at that precise moment, you have a new biological entity that does not resemble the mother's DNA, that does not resemble the father's DNA. It has its own unique individual DNA. And it's never been seen before, and it will never be repeated again, which tells you something. The DNA is human in essence. No biologist denies that. And the human embryo's DNA is unique, which means you have a unique, independent, individual being of human origin, a unique human being, right? And if you want to go further than that, you can study the work of Dr. Jerome Lejeune, who was a French geneticist in the 1960s and 70s, and he discovered the full human genetic code in an unborn child at the very moment of fertilization. So he testified in front of Congress in the 1970s to explain that biology knows this, that it's a fact. This is an undisputed fact among biologists and medical doctors that an unborn child at the moment of fertilization is a human being. And what you may not be aware of is that in 2020, I believe it was 2021, very recently, there was a survey of over 5,000 biologists from countries all over the world, and 96% of them agreed that an unborn child is a full human being from the moment of fertilization. It's indisputable. And the other 6% probably just got an F in biology. I don't know.
Sure.
But this is just a fact that we shouldn't be afraid of as pro-lifers because it is a simple fact. So
science is on our side.
Science is on our side on this. Yeah. So
okay. Cool. All right. Next question.
Okay.
So the fetus might be human, but it's not a person.
Very good. So the questioner here is making a distinction between human being and human person. Claiming that you can be a human being but not a human person, which, by the way, we've done that in history before. Can you think of when we've said
slaves?
Yeah, slavery, right? We've done that lots of times. We've claimed that women were human beings but not full persons. They couldn't vote. They didn't have certain rights. Even historically, children in biblical times were human beings, but they were not persons. They were not even counted, when they were doing the census. So this is not exactly an uncommon argument historically, but it is false. And here's why. First thing we want to ask people is, well, what is it that you think makes us a human person? What's the difference between being a human being and being a human person? Why do we have two different terms? Yeah. Good question.
It's a hard question to answer.
Historically, the terms came about because human being, meaning a being of human origin, is a biological term. So we use that to define who we are biologically, physiologically.
Species of human.
A species of human, right. And that we are a being. We are an existent. We take in energy and let out waste. So we're alive. Okay. A person denotes the moral worth of the human being and therefore our legal protectability. So the term person denotes something deeper than just your biology, Zachary. It denotes that you are a being of great moral worth, and therefore your government has a responsibility to protect you, right? So why separate human being from human person?
I don't know. That's a weird question.
It's weird. It's convenient, right? If I can say you're a human being but not a person, then I don't have to recognize certain rights that come along, that come attached to the human being.
Yeah.
And that's exactly why people have done this, right? Nazi Germany did this with the Jew, right? Maybe it looks human, it has human DNA, but this is not a person, right? And every time cultures have done this, governments have done this, they've committed egregious harms. So what is it that makes you a person? What makes you morally valuable? And usually the responses that people give are just insufficient to our dignity, and you can point that out. If you really want to get at the root of what makes you morally valuable, you have to go beyond the social security number, the name, the brain, right? Your IQ, your athletic abilities.
Your social ability.
Right, your social abilities.
Forth. Yeah.
Exactly. You have to go beyond that. And why? Well, last month when I was on the show, I was talking about how there's 4 different levels of happiness, and our listeners might remember that. There's physical pleasure and possession, ego gratification, gift of self to the other, and surrender to God. And those lower levels of happiness, which tend to be what people usually think of when they think of what makes me morally valuable, what I have and what I can do, are insufficient because they make us miserable. And you can help somebody to see that. It's not very difficult to get people to see that when you live for those things, you are profoundly unhappy. But when you live for good for the other, right, the transcendental good, that's when we discover our true meaning and purpose. Right? Love, generosity, commitment, faith, surrender to God, making a difference to others, sacrificing myself for the good of someone else, justice, truth. These are the things that make life worth living. That's where your moral worth comes from. So when we come back from this break, we're going to answer that question using this content. So don't go away, because now you have the content that we need to define why a human being is always a human person. So we'll be right back after this break. We'll see you in a bit.
Live, engaging, and local. This is Real Presence Live, where we bring you positive and uplifting stories and share the great things happening in our local area on the Real Presence Radio Network.
For centuries, healthcare has been central to the healing ministry of the church. Today's technologies offer exciting possibilities, but also serious moral questions. More than ever, we need healthcare leaders who serve with integrity and conviction. The University of Mary answers the call to prepare leaders anchored in moral courage in a breathtaking range of programs from bioethics to nursing. Visit CatholicProfessional.life.
This is Lavinia Spirito for Catholic Way Bible Study. Some say that our age of relativism, the belief that there are no absolute truths, began when the philosophers of the Enlightenment divorced reason from reality. Indeed, David Hume wrote that reason exists only to serve our own agendas. Contrast this with great thinkers like Thomas Aquinas and St. Augustine of Hippo, who each taught that reason is at the service of reality. And because of this, the human reason can reason their way to truth. In John Paul's famous encyclical Fides et Ratio, he writes, "Faith and reason are like 2 wings on which the human spirit rises to the contemplation of truth." Millennia of Christians have held that faith without reason is brainwash, and reason without faith is blind. So today, when you're thinking through an issue, ask yourself, is my reason serving reality, or am I twisting reality to serve myself?
Catholic Way Bible Study. Peace, power, purpose. Find out more at cwbs.org.
Seeking top-notch Catholic content? Dive into our website at realpresenceradio.com. Discover trustworthy Catholic news, local event info, and all the buzz from the RPR network. Need prayers? Pop over to our online portal and let the RPR family lift them up. Plus, stream any of our stations, anytime, anywhere. Real Presence Radio, your home for faith, hope, and a whole lot more. Find us online at realpresenceradio.com and join your family of faith and hope. This is Real Presence Live on the RPR Network, bringing you stories of faith and hope through local hosts and guests from across the upper Midwest. Now, back to the show.
Good morning. This is Camille Pauley, your host on Real Presence Live, and I'm so glad to be with you this morning. It's a beautiful day today and beautiful to be with you. Healing the Culture is the organization that I lead and run. It's a pro-life organization. If you're just joining us, you may have heard of Father Robert Spitzer before. He's my boss, and he started this ministry so that we could teach people around the world how to be pro-life and why to be pro-life, so we could convert people and build a culture of life. And you can get more free resources to learn about what we do and to share the pro-life message with others on our website, healingtheculture.org. And if you hop on that website today, healingtheculture.org, and you send us a message through our contact page, we will send you free video resources that you can use in order to reach other people with this message. You can use them to educate yourself. You can share them with your friends and family. They are free, and I will share them with you. All you need to do is hop on our contact page, send us an email, let us know you want them, and I will send them to you right away. That's healingtheculture.org. I'm joined in the studio here. If you've just joined us, I'm joined in the studio with Zachary Moore, who is Healing the Culture's director of, he's our videographer and our media specialist. He puts together all of our videos, so what you watched, he's done a lot of them. And he's helping me out today because we're answering questions that pro-choicers have for pro-lifers about why we are pro-life, and I'm helping to answer them. So we addressed the question of their question that the unborn child is not a human being in the first segment, and then we moved on to the question of, what was it, Zachary?
What is a person? What's the difference between a human being and a human person?
Right. So the argument sometimes is that the baby might be a human being because biologically you can't really argue that, but he's not a human person. Therefore, the law doesn't have any responsibility to protect him. Mm-hmm. Right? And the problem with that argument is that there is very little definition, or at least no objective definition on the pro-choice side about what is it about you that gives you personhood. Right? They just say, well, the law says you're not, so therefore you're not. Well, that's a little frightening because because why?
Well, I mean, if I'm not protected, anyone can do anything to me.
That's exactly right. When are you next, right?
Mm-hmm, exactly.
If the law can declare, if the courts can just declare, or the legislature can just declare that some human beings are not persons arbitrarily because it's convenient, then you really can't, you don't have an argument when they turn to
murder.
You.
Yeah. You get Nazi Germany at that point.
So we really need a good, solid definition of what it means to be a human person. Mm-hmm. Where do you get your personhood from? Because if you're a person, which means you have moral value and worth, then the law is obliged to protect you.
Yes.
Right? So where do you get your worth from? Well, we were talking about some of the arguments that pro-choicers have, that you get your worth from your ability to think, or your ability to...
You have a name,
social, your ability to love, social
aptitude.
Security, right? You're able to relate to people in certain ways. You have a certain athletic ability, physical. It always ends up being something physical, that I can do something, I appear a certain way, I can function in a certain way. And the problem with these definitions of personhood, that's where you get your moral worth from, is number one, most of us don't really believe that, right? I don't want to believe that my whole self-worth comes from my football playing abilities.
Yeah, I'm not the most athletic, so I really hope that's not the case.
Me too, Zachary. You and I could play football against each other, but probably I would not be able to play football with anybody else. So we cannot define our worth, our meaning, and our purpose by our physical abilities, or we're all going to be in trouble. But the other problem with that is that fundamentally, if you look at that, it's really hard to determine what is the demarcation. What's the line? What physical line do you have to cross in order to be considered worthy of legal protection? right? Do you have to have an IQ that's this high? When is somebody going to raise the bar a little higher? And then maybe a little higher. And when it's raised a little higher, does that mean all the people we used to consider to be human persons really weren't?
Yeah.
And who gets to decide? Right? So it's an extremely arbitrary and subjective criteria to determine that somebody is not a human person because he doesn't meet a certain biological criteria. Other than you are a being of human origin. That's the only biological criteria that is objective. Everything else is subjective, right? How far along have you progressed in the development of human
beings? Do you
beings?
get straight A's?
Right, exactly. So, what do? Well, to know whether you're a person or not, we need to really deeply consider where your human worth comes from. And we were talking before the break about how the only objective way to really look at human worth is not what do you physically look like, not what can you do and how do you function, but what is your purpose and goal ultimately, right? Because there is one purpose and goal that seems to be the same for every human being. We all yearn for the transcendentals. We all yearn for love. We all yearn for justice and beauty and truth and goodness, right? And fairness. Human beings have this unique capacity among all other animals to seek what is good and true and beautiful, right? We all have that as part of our nature.
Yeah.
And the fact that that's part of our nature is what makes us valuable. Not necessarily when we're just using it, right? Sometimes the pro-choice movement will say, oh, okay, well then you're not a human person until you can use that ability, right? You're not a human person until you're actually being just or
Yeah.
truthful or loving or good, right? And what's the problem with that?
Well, I mean, a baby can't tell you that it likes what's happening or not, right?
That's
Except
right.
for crying.
That's right.
So,
That's right. So toddlers are probably in trouble. People with certain disabilities are going to be in trouble because they can't manifest to you, to your satisfaction, that they are able to,
Yep.
think the way you do about the transcendentals. I'm in trouble when I'm asleep.
yeah. When mute people, how they express themselves if we didn't have sign language, blind,
Yep.
you know.
Yep. And what about when you are not being truthful,
Exactly.
or when you're not being loving, or when you're not being good?
We're telling that little white lie that everyone does.
Yeah, so the problem with defining a human person based on what you are currently achieving right now is also subjective and arbitrary. The only objective way to define a human person is by defining us according to what we could achieve if we reached our highest potential. And what's our highest potential? The transcendentals, right? Truth, love, goodness, beauty, all those things. Not only those things, but those things ultimately, which would be grounded in God. That every human being desires perfect love and perfect truth and perfect justice. So we all desire God. Every human being will find our fulfillment in that. That's what makes us worthy. The fact that that is our destiny, that is our objective end. When you define human persons that way, not only would you be correct in identifying the one thing that is common to all of us as our end, but you are also correct in then stating that the unborn child is a full human person. Because even at the moment of fertilization, an unborn child has the full potentiality to achieve the 5 transcendentals as you do. Truth, love, goodness, beauty, and home, ultimate home. So, that's a simple question, maybe not so simple, to why the unborn child is not just a human being, but also a human person.
Yes.
Yeah. What else have we got?
Next question. Shouldn't every child be a wanted child?
Ah, very good. So the assumption here is that every child can't be wanted. And the truth is that every child is wanted. There are literally thousands and thousands of people who are waiting to adopt a child.
Of course.
Who cannot adopt because there are not enough children to adopt. And part of the reason is because of the radical increase in infertility, much of it caused by contraceptives and a lot of it caused by abortion, and other reasons as well. But this increase in infertility has caused a lot of people to seek to adopt children, and there are not enough children to adopt. So the first argument would be, to say that every child is not a wanted child or could possibly not be a wanted child is really false in its premise. Every child is wanted. But there's a second problem with that statement. There's kind of a sinister underlying assumption here, or underlying conclusion here, that of course, I'm going to say yes, every child should be a wanted child, but the conclusion to that sentence from the pro-choicers' perspective is, and if you're not wanted, then we should be allowed to kill you. Yeah, that's pretty problematic. Your value doesn't come from the fact that you are wanted or unwanted by your parents or by your government or by a medical doctor or by an abortionist. Your value is what we call intrinsic. It means it's part of your nature. Right? It's not declared into existence. People can violate your dignity and your worth and your value, but your worth and your value are part of your very nature because you are made for those transcendentals and for God. So to say every child should be a wanted child, of course it should be a wanted child. I agree with you on that, I would say to the person. But your wantedness is not what gives you value and worth. And therefore, the conclusion of that sentence, if you're not wanted, we should kill you, is very problematic. So, yeah. Okay, what else have we got?
Next question. What about abortion when the baby is going to have severe disabilities?
Yes. Okay, so can abortion be justified in cases where the preborn child has a life-threatening abnormality or a severe or profound disability? These are called severe fetal abnormalities. Well, first we'll just stick to that one for the essence of time, because a lot of times they'll stick to that. You know, what if the disability is life-threatening? The baby's going to die anyway. You know, shouldn't abortion be not only a legitimate solution in that case, but the most compassionate solution? Otherwise, you're condemning this child to a lifetime of pain and suffering. I know from personal experience that when parents get this diagnosis, which is heartbreaking,
they want to do what they think it would be
yeah,
most kind.
It's called the medically futile pregnancy. And a lot of times they're pressured into abortion, which is, I was pressured to have an abortion when I had 3 pregnancies. And of course I didn't, and my children died. But it makes all the moral difference in the world, because children who have these kinds of disorders are dying in utero. But what caused my children's deaths in utero was the underlying illness that they had. Abortion kills the child. So the difference is that abortion is killing the child actively, where the disorder is the underlying cause of the death of the child if you don't have an abortion.
One's being physically done by someone, and the other one is just an illness out of your hands.
Yes, exactly. And some people justify the abortion because they say it eliminates suffering. But it's morally unjust to eliminate suffering by eliminating people who suffer. We all suffer. Everyone has to suffer. And, every preborn child is a member of our human family and is infinitely valuable. So we cannot say that because you're suffering, we are justified in killing you. The slippery slope on that route is very bad. If we say, anybody who's suffering, we can justify in killing. They all have purpose, and they're all intended for something good. And suffering doesn't last forever. It will ultimately end. So,
and there's always the possibility that they survive.
Which is what happened to one of my children, who they diagnosed with a condition that she actually didn't have. So anyway, we can talk more about that later. We're up against a hard break, so I'm going to pause here to let our wonderful underwriters have their chance to have their say. And when we come back, we will be joined by Mr. Paul Zuccarelli, who has an incredible story to share with you. We'll be right back.
Stay with us. There's more Real Presence Live to come on the Real Presence Radio Network.